Oh, timeout. It's the regional semifinals around the state of Ohio. We had a bunch of 7-4-0 zone teams out to play in some very key playoff matchups. We had teams playing from the Dayton and Columbus area, so very stiff competition throughout. Would the 7-4-0 come out on top? The 7-4-0 zone starts right now. Hello everyone and welcome back to a spooky edition of the 7-4-0 Zone. I'm your host Jacob Murray, and today my attire might be a little bit different for you all back at home, but it is Halloween, so I'm in the spirit of it, and I'm in a very scary outfit right now in a referee uniform. Now we start off as Bishop Hartley took on the Sheridan Generals in Columbus, and we had reporter Alex Porter out at that game to catch up on all the action.
From the 7-4-0 to the 6-1-4, the Sheridan Generals faced off against the Bishop Hartley Hawks, the 3 seed versus the 2 seed, to determine who would head to the regional final in Division III Region 11. Bishop Hartley would receive the opening kickoff and take their time as they marched down the field. First Hawk drive resulted in a field goal with less than 3 minutes left in the first quarter. Sheridan would end up punting on their first drive, but it wouldn't take long for them to get the ball back as they forced a huge fumble recovery on the Hawks, putting them in the red zone and in scoring position. And they would capitalize as Josh O'Ryan finds Landon Russell wide open on the slant to get the Generals on the board. A blocked PAT would follow, giving Sheridan the 6-3 lead. As soon as Hartley got the ball back, they stuck to their game plan, slowly moving the chains down the field, chew up a lot of clock, and score. Right before the half, Marcellus Parker takes the pitch from 9 yards out and gets into the end zone. After a made PAT, the score at halftime would be 10-6 in favor of the Hawks. As Sheridan received the ball in the second half, they weren't able to get anything going offensively, in large part because of how much time Bishop Hartley had the ball in their hands. The Hawks' first drive of the second half took over half the third quarter and into the start of the fourth, and ultimately finished in a huge goal line stand from the Red Rage defense, giving the team some hope to drive down the field and take the lead. After an encroachment penalty, a few plays for modest gains, the Generals punted the ball away and Hartley would chew out the clock to finish the game, giving them the victory 10-6. A big difference in the game was the fourth down conversions, as every fourth down Hartley had, they converted besides one. Head coach Paul Culver III talked about the impressive run his team had after a shortened season.
So they are the most impressive and successful 8-win team I've ever seen. I don't know how a team is that successful, that good, that talented, and all on the kids and my assistants being that successful to only have 8 wins.
Those accomplishments for the Generals are lengthy. Undefeated regular season, MVL champions, top 3 seed team in the playoffs, and possibly the best offensive line and defense Sheridan has ever seen. Despite a tough ending to the season, the Sheridan Generals have made their mark on Thornville, the history books, and the culture. Reporting for the 7-4-0 Zone, I'm Alex Porter.
And even after the loss, this Generals senior class will go down in the history books of Sheridan High School. Thanks for the good work, Alex. Now we head out to Gloucester, where the Trimble Tomcats welcome Newark Catholic in a Region 27 matchup. Reporter Jacob Mata was out at that game to see how it all unfolded.
The number 1 seeded Trimble Tomcats were looking to defend their home turf against the number 5 seeded Newark Catholic Green Wave. Trimble struck first as quarterback Tabor Lackey drops back and finds Austin Weiser in the end zone for a 27-yard touchdown catch. The PAT would fail, and the Tomcats led 6-0. Newark Catholic then received great field position after a snap was sent over punter Blake Guffey's head, and the Green Wave got on the scoreboard as Kyle Langenbrunner took the handoff and went 17 yards to the end zone for a touchdown, making the score 7-6 Newark Catholic. A few drives later, Cole Cantor kept the ball himself and found the end zone from 8 yards away to make the score 14-6 Green Wave.
The Tomcats came out re-energized and ready to fight, down 21-6 in the second half, but turnovers proved to be the difference maker in this game.
Yeah, you can get away with those against some of the teams we play, and we got away with it against Monroe Central. We had 4 fumbles there, but we still won the game. Played pretty good against Burn Union, and then with 4 or 5 turnovers a night. It's just the old adage, you're not going to give good teams turnovers. They weren't giving them back to us, so they took advantage. There's no doubt, and I'm sure they'd agree too. If we played turnover-free, we'd win the ball game.
Fast forward to the third quarter, and Lackey powers the ball in himself from 1 yard away to cut the lead down by 6 after a failed 2-point attempt. The score stood 21-12, Newark Catholic. In desperate need of another touchdown, the Tomcats bust out the double pass. Lackey to Guffey to a wide-open Austin Weiser downfield who runs the ball into the end zone for a 37-yard touchdown. The Green Wave clung to a 21-19 lead. The Green Wave would add another touchdown to make the score 28-19 in the fourth quarter, and Trimble, needing another touchdown to keep their hopes alive, Lackey drops back, passes the ball over the middle of the field, and it's intercepted by Ryan Pauley, who takes the ball all the way to the end zone for an 85-yard touchdown return to make the final of this game 35-19. Reporting for 740 Zone, I'm Jacob Mata.
And even with the loss, the Tomcats return a majority of the roster that they just had. As they move very deep into the postseason, they'll look to continue that momentum into next year. Thanks for the good work, Jacob. Now we head over to watch as the Meadowbrook Colts spook the St. Clairsville Red Devils in the first half. Our reporter Nick Henthorne has the full story of how the second half turned the tables.
Coming into their regional semifinal matchup against St. Clairsville, few teams have been putting up points like the Meadowbrook Colts. 4 straight games scoring at least 50 points, and the Colts and quarterback Davis Singleton would try and keep up their scoring barrage against the Red Devils of St. Clairsville. And in the early going, it sure looked like that would be the case. The ground game was working for the Colts, and Anthony Schwartz found the end zone on the ground to give Meadowbrook an early lead. Then, Meadowbrook shows off their explosiveness, a 63-yard touchdown pass to Hunter Eubanks. He came into this game leading the Colts in receptions. He was making plays on Saturday. Meadowbrook had 2 early interceptions from Jerome Todd and Josh Hupp, and they used those extra possessions to lead 28-0 in the second quarter as Davis Singleton was doing whatever he wanted. 2 passing touchdowns and a 25-yard rushing touchdown for the dual-threat quarterback had Meadowbrook in the driver's seat and St. Clairsville searching for answers.
A rough start for the Red Devils. They're the first seed in their region for a reason. And as the game wore on, those reasons became very apparent.
The Red Devils came alive with 5 minutes to go in the second quarter when Tyler Tonkovich connected with Colin Oberdick for a 35-yard score. At the same time, St. Clairsville keyed in on quarterback keepers from Singleton, regrouped in the secondary, stymied the Colts offense, and the comeback was underway. The Red Devils adopted a ground-bound game plan the rest of the way, utilizing both Tonkovich and Logan Shields' running abilities to keep Meadowbrook's defense on their heels and wear the Colts down in the trenches. Red Devils head coach Brett McLean talked about his backfield after the game.
And Logan, Tyler, Jacob, our whole backfield, they work as a unit, and they understand that they complement each other, and they move in and out of the game unselfishly. They block for each other. They're a great group of kids. This has been one of the most fun group of kids I've ever coached.
4 touchdown runs from Shields, 1 for Tonkovich. Both did a lot of damage on the ground in long scoring possessions. Once St. Clairsville started dictating the pace of the game, they put up points in a hurry. The second half saw the Red Devils snag 2 interceptions of their own from Drew Sefcik and Mason McCourt. The game was tied at 28 after 3 quarters, and St. Clairsville would ride that momentum to a 42-28 victory. 42 unanswered points for the Red Devils, an impressive showing that they'll look to build on going into the regional finals, a place where St. Clairsville has been 5 times in their school's history. Coach McLean talked about his team's performance after this one.
We've got a philosophy that we live and die by, and the kids buy into it, and that's what we talked about at halftime. I mean, there was obviously X and O adjustments, but a lot of it was about who we are and what we wanted the rest of this night to be like. Our teams, they've had a lot of character all season. We've been in some crazy situations, from starting games late and playing behind and things like that. It's making me older faster, that's for sure, but the kids had character. Our coaches in the box and on the sideline had character.
And St. Clairsville would play the winner of BloomCarroll in Licking Valley, and last year the Panthers took out the Bulldogs, but this season could have been a different story. Reporter Brian Kerp was out of that game to see if the Bulldogs could turn the tide on the Panthers.
BloomCarroll looking for revenge on Licking Valley after falling to the Panthers in last year's regional final. But Licking Valley got off to a strong start in this year's regional semifinal. Cameron Palmer connects with Denali Harris in the end zone to give the Panthers the early 6-0 lead. The point after was blocked. BloomCarroll finally got on the board in the second as KJ Benedict lofts one up and Brandon Dodds comes up with it in the back of the end zone. The 2-point conversion was no good. Ball game tied at 6. But defense was the theme on Saturday. Towards the end of the half, Hobie Scarberry breaks free for a big gain, but the football gets knocked loose and is recovered by Licking Valley. But the Panthers could not get points before the break and the teams went to the half tied at 6. Now, coming out of the half, BloomCarroll engineered an impressive drive. Benedict puts one up and Brandon Totten snatches it away from the defender, setting up the Bulldogs in the red zone. A few plays later, Benedict rolls out and locates Bo Wisecarver in the end zone to put BloomCarroll ahead 13-6. And the Bulldogs defense made sure that lead did not disappear. In the fourth, Palmer, looking to find a receiver, somehow avoids a sack but gets picked off by Cody Harmon. BloomCarroll ends up turning the ball over on downs. Next Panthers drive. Palmer tries to complete it over the middle, but Bo Wisecarver leaps and picks it off. There was a penalty on the return, so the touchdown did not count. After a missed field goal, the Panthers get the ball again with 3.5 minutes left. Palmer rolls out looking for an open receiver and finally slings it. The ball was deflected and falls right into Clay Dozer's arms for another interception. 3 picks in the fourth quarter for the Bulldogs. On fourth down, BloomCarroll trying to put the game on ice, and on Halloween night, Wade Bartholomew reaches into his bag of tricks. Hobie Scarberry, the running back, completes the pass to Dodds to seal the 13-6 victory. BloomCarroll knocks off Licking Valley and advances to the regional final.
I think you saw the reaction with our kids when the game was over. They were super excited. We talked all week about how we needed to come in here and play a great game. This is a tough place to come win. I don't know how many games that man's lost in this stadium, but there hasn't been a whole lot, and there's probably very little playoff games he's lost here too. So that's a huge win for us. Our kids were super excited all week knowing that this was the bracket, that we got a chance to possibly get to this game and come here and prove that we just weren't, some BloomCarroll team that was going to get beat up by the big guy.
And of course, this win sets up a BloomCarroll versus St. Clairsville matchup for a chance at a spot in the Final Four. Thanks for the good work, Brian. Now we stay in Division 4, but head over to Region 16, where Waverly played the top team in Division 4 in the state of Ohio. Reporter Jack Demler was out to catch the action in this one.
Division 4 Region 16 semifinals saw the Waverly Tigers travel to take on the ClintonMassie Falcons. The Falcons utilized the ground game the entire time. Cody Zantini with the quarterback keep takes it 44 yards to the Tiger 5-yard line, which sets him up for a touchdown run. On the Tigers' first possession, Hayden Shanks connects with his favorite target, Will Futhi, who's in a foot race and takes it 61 yards into the end zone for a Tiger touchdown. Game is tied at 7 after the first quarter. After Carson Van Hoos punched it in to retake the Falcons' lead, Shanks would look to respond, and he's going to find Futhi again for a 38-yard touchdown. Futhi already with 2 touchdown receptions, and the Tigers evened it up at 14 apiece. Van Hoos would go on to score a second touchdown of the game before half as the Falcons head into the locker room up 21-14. And at the start of the second half, the Falcons picked up right where they left off. Zantini keeps it and runs it in from 10 yards out, and the Falcons lead by 2 scores. But here comes the gunslinger, Shanks, looking to keep his team in the game, looking for Zeke Brown, who mosses his defender for the Tiger touchdown. After holding the Falcons scoreless, Tigers have a chance to tie the game. Shanks with a quick screen to Phoenix Wolf, who bolts down the sideline and takes it into the end zone. Game tied at 28, 8 minutes left. Ensuing Tiger possession, 3rd and 11. Shanks looking for Wolf, who makes an incredible timing effort to bring in the catch just short of the first down mark. 4th and 6. Shanks looking for Penn Morrison, but the Falcons' Bryce Scout forces the incompletion, and the Falcons take over with 5 minutes left. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Without a single passing yards, the Falcons stick to the run game and march down the field to get into field goal possession, which sets Trevor McGinnis up for this 24-yard field goal for the win.
He's been a good kicker. He was an all-Southwest Ohio kid last year, so he was an experienced kid. Busted it right down the middle. It was perfect. It was just a great team effort all the way around. It was an incredible testimony to a lot of heart and just mental toughness from the ClintonMassie team.
From the 7-4 zone, I'm Jack Demler.
And after this loss for Waverly, their quarterback Hayden Shanks played his final game after he rewrote the record books throughout his time playing at Waverly High School. There will be some big shoes to fill come next season. Thanks for the good work, Jack. Now we head over to Division 5, where we saw Ironton take on Harvest Prep. So we have reporter Ryan Kincaid out of that game to catch up on all the action in that one.
Tiger Town is alive once again for a Halloween showdown. The visiting Harvest Prep Warriors want to prove themselves against the number 1 seed. Quarterback Aiden Rogers throws on the first play of the game, but Arroyo Meadows says, "Gimme that." That pick sets up good field position for Ironton, allowing the pain train known as Reed Carrico to rumble into the end zone for TD number 1. Next Warrior drive, Jalen Jennings takes the ball outside, has room, and boom! That's gotta be the biggest hit I've seen all year. Jennings is okay, but you get that water, son. You need it for this. A run to the other side, beating Carrico, beating a couple more defenders to tie the game up at 7 early in the first. Next drive shows the theme of the game. Both sides coughed the ball up several times all night long, including this fun game of hot potato. Nobody seems to want to get on it, but Ironton eventually falls on the ball, leaving them to try out their air game. Here's Tatum Carpenter to Ashton Duncan over the helmet of a linebacker, allowing Carrico position to pile his way in on the next play for TD number 2. But Harvest Prep managed to do what no team yet could: contain Carrico on the ground. The future Buckeye had to scratch and claw for every yard against a very tough Warrior defense.
While this may have been Reed Carrico's toughest game on offense yet all year, he was able to get it done on defense, and more players on offense came to step up for the Fighting Tigers.
Ironton needs to break the rut and appears to run up the middle, but no! Carpenter keeps the ball to himself, runs to the edge and into the end zone. Tigers lead 21-7. But it's not over yet. Rogers throws deep to Jalen Davis, who catches it in the corner. Harvest Prep brings us back to a one-score game to start the fourth quarter. Next Harvest Prep drive, Rogers scrambles again and slips on the turf to go down. One more mistake will cost the Warriors the game and their season. Rogers drops back to pass, sees Rashawn Goins, throws it up, and it's picked off by Trent Hacker, preventing the comeback and allowing Ironton to once again advance to the regional finals by a score of 21-14 in their closest margin of victory yet.
Honestly, we didn't play great. We didn't play great at all. Our kids know that. So we just kept grinding. We knew it was going to be a slugfest. We just kept grinding. We turned the ball over at unfortunate times and done some things bad, but we just kept grinding it out and good things happened.
The Fighting Tigers face Ridgewood next Saturday for the Region 19 crown and a berth to the Division 5 State Final Four.
Thanks for the good work, Ryan. The Tigers will play the winner of this next game that we are covering in Wheelersburg and Ridgewood. And of course, both these teams are very familiar with one another, as Ridgewood took down the Berg last year this exact same round. We had reporter Joe Collins for the recap.
As people across the nation put on their Halloween costumes, two teams dressed up as pirates and generals for some playoff football. For nearly every second of the first half, it was a defensive battle. In the first half alone, the two defenses combined for 5 forced turnovers. Both Wheelersburg and Ridgewood would get into the other team's territory, but both defenses would not break, and so the score remained tied at 0. That was until Jake Gregg's pass is intercepted by Deontay Brandon, and he would run with the candy basket and finally be brought down at the 10-yard line. A few plays later, Brandon gets the handoff, and he fights his way in for the score with just 10 seconds left in the first half. In the second half, Wheelersburg got some momentum going as Derek Lattimore just refused to be tackled. He would rush for over 100 yards in the third quarter alone. Braxton Salmons would hit this 35-yard field goal to make it 7-3. To the fourth, Ridgewood deep in Pirate territory. Gabe Tingle drops back, dumps it off to Brandon on the wheel route. He avoids the tackle, gets to the corner, and he scores standing up. His second touchdown of the game, and the Generals take a 13-3 lead. However, the Pirates would start a comeback. Thanks to some quick slants and a touchdown run by Gregg, the Pirates cut to a 3-point lead. Ensuing Generals possession, Tingle scrambles around and launches one deep. It's deflected and almost intercepted, but now Wheelersburg gets the ball back. 20 seconds left. Gregg scoots around in the pocket, lobs one up, and Dalton Patterson steps in front of the receiver and picks it off. And that will be your ball game. Ridgewood wins a thriller and moves on to the regional final with a 13-10 victory.
Couldn't be more proud of our kids. Losing our main guy offensively for the whole game. I thought our defensive group was just outstanding. I thought our offensive guys really stepped up. Deontay Brandon really played a nice game.
This colossal Ridgewood versus Ironton matchup could be our game of the year in the 7-4-0. And of course, we'll be out at that game to pick up on all the action next week. Thanks for the good work, Joe. Now we head over to Division 6, where we saw Fort Frye take on Barnesville in a game where the Cadets have dominated over the past several years in postseason play. But would they do it again? Reporter Will Price was out at this game.
Regional semifinal, it's Fort Frye versus Barnesville. Quarterback Ian Ellis and the Cadets looking to stay undefeated on the year. First drive of the game, Shamrocks have the ball, but they would fumble it. Ends up on the turf and Cadets are on top. Short field to start and they would take advantage. Here's Ellis taking the snap and rolling right. He'd find his man Nick Hart, makes the grab, makes a move, and gets across the goal line. 7-0 early, and they wouldn't stop there. Second possession, Fort Frye with a little misdirection, fools the cameraman and the defense. Mason Long ends up in the open field, and they're not going to catch him. 66-yard touchdown, and it would be 13-0 Fort Frye. However, Barnesville threatening inside the 20. Quarterback Aiden Hanna rolls right, but he's intercepted by Owen Brown, and it would be 13-0 heading into the half. After the break, it was all Cadets. Here's Colin Welsh, the fullback over the middle. Has a hole, follows his block. That's a 26-yard touchdown. Later on in the quarter, it's Long again. This time around the edge, finds the hole. He'd be into the end zone. He would end the night with 3 touchdowns, all at least 20 yards. The Cadets take this one 34-0. After the game, head coach Eric Huck praised his defense's consistency.
Defense wins championships, right? So our defense is going to have to play big again next week. And, when our offense started stuttering a little bit, our defense was able to keep them off the board and keep that pressure off.
The Cadets march on to take on Fairland next week, as the Dragons had a 27-12 win over Cold Grove this week after a questionable pass interference call got them to this point against Nelsonville York. Thanks for the good work, Will. Now we head to our final game of the week as Adena took on the second-ranked team in the state. Reporter Claire Geary went out to this one to see if their underdog mentality would keep them going into this one.
Adena High School took a trip to London High School to play at the neutral site against the Mechanicsburg Indians, who are ranked #1 in Division 7 football. Now, the Indians really came out firing on all cylinders with fast runs up the sideline from players such as Chase Probst, who ended up having 159 rushing yards to his name, in addition to another touchdown. The Indians really came out with speed in their favor, and it shell-shocked the Warriors just on defense and offense. However, after this blocked extra point, the Warriors were getting momentum back. Once the Warriors got a chance to warm up inside of the locker room, they had a mission on their mind, which was to win the quarter and come into the second half explosive. Going into the third quarter, the score was 28-0, and it was not in the Warriors' favor by any means. However, Preston Sykes threw a dime of a pass into the corner of the end zone to Logan Bennett to put them on the board, and then Sykes himself had a successful 2-point conversion, cutting their losses from 28-8 going into the fourth. However, Nate Throckmorton and company just could not get it done. Even after his screen of a pass into the corner of the end zone for another touchdown, the trio just could not put it together and eventually fell short 42-14. Coach Penwell mentions how special this group of seniors was to the 2020 season.
They're very special to me. The way they fought, the way they worked together, the family attitude that they have, tremendous. And those groups don't come along very often.
Of course, a great season for Adena and a great season for us as well, as next week will be our finale for this great season that we just saw unfold here in the 2020 season. And be sure to catch up on all of our social medias on our Twitter and Facebook to see all the up-to-date scores and also stories coming out from this weekend and next weekend as well. We move on to the Final Four. It looks like I just ran all over the field with how windy it's been out here today, and I'm your host, Jacob Murray, signing off.